Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series on spellcasting in the brand new Player's Handbook, talking about the Druid. We're really getting into the end game here. We are talking about 8th level spells, just one lower than the maximum you can reach. If you're a 15th level Druid, you get to select these spells. And oh boy, the power level is starting to get kind of crazy here. From the best utility in combat spells, these are just wildly strong. In order to help you choose, I have chosen a top 5 list of spells, 2 from the utility schools, 2 from the combat focused, and then 1 honorable mention. And I'm going to go over them here in just a moment. Before I do, though, I'd like to let you know, Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. You get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know you're a supporter. You get early access to my videos a day earlier than everyone else. And you get VIP access in my community Discord. In that room, I talk about some of the projects that I've got up and coming, and you can talk with me about them or whatever else you like. If any of that sounds interesting to you, you can click the join button just down there next to the subscribe button. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. Just being here, watching the video, liking, subscribing to the channel, maybe joining the general chat rooms in the Discord, they're free. These are all great ways to support me. So thank you for watching my content here on YouTube. So let's start off with my favorite combat spell. And by the way, a lot of these spells kind of blur the line between combat and utility. This is definitely one of them, but I've put it in the combat list specifically for its action economy. It's called Animal Shapes. You choose a bunch of allies nearby, you cast this spell as an action. All the creatures turn into beasts of challenge rating CR 4 or lower. The most powerful example that you can probably think of would be giant constrictor snakes or giant scorpions, or there's dire wolves and polar bears, and there's fair creatures in here. Now you're level 15. It's very unlikely that these beast shapes are going to make you particularly powerful compared to your normal form. But that's not the point of animal shapes. The point is that when you shift, you get to keep, your hit points, your personality, your knowledge of the world, that sort of thing. But your stats are replaced by the beasts. And then creatures get temporary hit points equal to what the beast would normally have. Now, these temporary hit points, maintain the transformation, and if you lose all the temp HP, then they go back to normal. However, this spell lasts 24 hours and does not require concentration. Later on, as an action, you can shapeshift all the creatures that you affected initially again, transforming them into the beasts all over again, which gives them their temporary hit points all over again. So in theory, you could transform yourselves into beasts that have 50 or 60 hit points, and even if you take a massive hit and everyone drops out of their form, most of that damage was mitigated, and then you can just magic action, bam, everyone is that again. It takes chip damage to a whole different definition. And yeah, you're not going to be hitting as hard, you can't cast your spells, all that other stuff, but it kind of doesn't matter when you're almost impossible to kill. It's wild, and I gotta give it a spot here, so I'm giving it number 2 on the combat list. Now, number 2 on the utility list goes to a very thematic spell, Control Weather. Control Weather is one of those spells that you just have to play around with a bit to really understand its devastation, because at first, it doesn't look like it does much. You can change the precipitation in an area from storms to clear skies or back. You can change the wind from completely calm to storm force winds. You can even change the temperature from blazing hot to freezing cold. And you do so over a period of hours. You cast the spell and then it lasts for several hours. And then every 30 or 40 minutes or so, you can shift the weather one section, one quality can change. So it takes hours to take a place from a desert to an Arctic, or to take it from clear skies to a storm. But the point is that you can do this for miles and miles around. This is the kind of thing that ruins economies and ecologies. This is how you take a harvest and absolutely decimate it. This is how you take an army that's marching and you ruin their terrain and make it impossible for them to march. This is the kind of thing that the gods themselves can call down curses upon the world and really mess people up, except it's you doing it with your druidic magic. Holy crap. It doesn't do damage to anyone, but with the creative ways that you can spin this into just ruining the days of entire armies or kingdoms, I gotta give this a spot. So I'm giving it number 2 on utility. Before we get to the number 1s, I have an honorable mention here, and it is Tsunami. Tsunami is, again, exactly what it says on the tin. You summon a gigantic tidal wave. It can be 300 feet tall and wide and 50 feet thick. And the idea is that you push it over 6 rounds. And every round it drops 50 feet in height, pushing creatures along with it. They get to make strength saves to try to swim out of it, but they get dragged with it as it rolls over the earth, doing a crap ton of bludgeoning damage if they get dragged with it. And the simple fact that you can do this from a mile away, this is how you destroy an army. This is how you decimate a fortress. You send a tidal wave against it, a tsunami, and just wipe everybody out in your path. It is pure damage and pure chaos and pandemonium. And I love it. It doesn't, depending on how you view it, it does damage, so it could be combat, but it also can destroy areas of land, so it could be utility. There's a lot of stuff going on here, but I'm giving it an honorable mention, so, whichever group it goes into is kind of dealer's choice. All right, number 1 spell for utility. This one is a little complicated. Antipathy Sympathy. Simply put, you cast this spell on an object, or in an area, or on a creature, I suppose. And you give them the strange pull or repel sort of effect. Once you've cast the spell on them, you then designate a type of creature that's affected by the spell. It gives the example of red dragons, goblins, or vampires. So it's that kind of general vibe of creature. You can be as specific or as general as you like, but, that's the creatures that are affected. From then on, if they come within 120 feet of the object or creature, they come into contact with the source of the spell, then if it is antipathy, they have to make a saving throw or they are repelled from it. They cannot approach it. They will not go near it. It is, absolutely repulsive to them, frightening to them, and they cannot. So it's a good way to keep creatures away from a location. On the flip side, sympathy draws them towards it if they fail to save, to the point where they actually go right up next to it and just kind of stare at it and don't do anything. It is a trap. It is the ultimate black hole of sympathy where you just kind of walk towards it and you're stuck in this hypnotic gaze. It's crazy. I think that it is a difficult spell to use. You have to know how to set it up. You have to know where to put it. You have to really strategize. But if you can pull it off, it's one of the most powerful magical effects out there. Even if a creature succeeds the save, they're only immune to the effect for a minute. And then it starts affecting them again. And there is no long-term way to resist it other than dispelling it, I guess. So I'm giving it number 1 on the utility list. I think it's wildly powerful. But then, as far as the number 1 for the combat list, I've got to give it to Incendiary Cloud. This is effectively a firestorm that you summon up, covers a big area, and creatures have to make a dex save or they take a bunch of fire damage. It does what it says on the tin. But it also moves away from you at a slow pace, and the wind can move it around. Because you're an 8th or a 15th level druid with 8th level magic, I can actually see you using something like a gust of wind to blow it in different directions and control it on the battlefield. But as long as you keep concentrating on it, it just blows around, burning anything and anyone it touches. This is one of those awesome battlefield spells which just controls the whole area and is wildly strong because creatures do not want to run through it. It also counts as heavy obscurements. There's all sorts of great things about it. I've got to give it the #1 spot for combat. It is my absolute favorite. And yeah, that's it. If you are a 15th level druid and you're uncertain about which spells to take, for combat I recommend Incendiary Cloud, it's crazy. For planning and strategy, Control, Weather, and Antipathy Sympathy is pretty good. Animal Shapes makes you and your party invincible, pretty much, if you know how to use it. And Tsunami is great for just wrecking the world. Yeah, I hope that helps. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more spellcasting reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.